German recession, another domino falls. Hi, everyone, and welcome to Ainslie Insights, brought to you by Ainslie Bullion, Ainslie Crypto, and the Gold and Silver Standard, as the Ainslie Group celebrates 50 years. Today, we welcome back Alex, who's been looking at Germany as a bit of an indicator of what's going on more generally around the world with our major economies. How are you going today, Alex?
I am going well. How are you today?
I'm very good. I just had some eye drops in before that they dilated my eyes, so I'm having the lights and everything. It's all throwing me off a little
I
bit,
did see
but
you preening yourself before we
yeah,
started.
but
So
yeah, I'll push through. I'll make this happen. So really interesting article today, and it's not really one that you've talked about before. You obviously talk about lots of countries and what's going on, but you specifically focused in on Germany as really ringing some alarm bells there. So can you start us off by giving us a bit of background about what's happening? It seems to me like it's a tale of multiple countries falling into recession.
yeah, so the dominoes, so to speak, keep falling. So we've got UK, Japan, Ireland, Finland, Germany, a lot of Europe, Peru, so South America as well. There's a lot of countries right now that are in recession, and there's quite a few that still haven't reported for the December quarter. So possibly there's going to be a whole heap more. Um, you know, you've got Japan, Germany, and UK making up 25% of the world economy, I
Mm.
believe, and they're all in recession. So you've got these outliers like the US right now that are still not in recession, but everyone is screaming recession and everyone else is starting to fall. So, Canada and Australia, as we've spoken extensively about how they're in per capita recessions. Um, the only technicality that's getting them out of them is immigration, and that's possibly part of what's going on in the US as well.
That is an
So
excellent point because if you think about this term recession, and we've discussed this many times before, you've got sort of that technical definition, but that can be fudged a little bit with things like immigration, like you just mentioned. So it's not really necessarily the recessions of old that we're talking about here because the numbers can be fudged.
yeah, it's not looking as rosy as what some of the numbers and some of the countries are reporting, including Australia. We're still going up in GDP, but we are personally each going backwards.
Yes.
So, that's where we are. And looking at Germany, the warning bells really with Germany are they are an industrial country. They export a lot. China is their biggest trading partner. So if they're going backwards, other countries are going backwards too, because they're exporting stuff, but so their country's shrinking or their economy shrinking because other countries aren't buying as much. So it's a real sort of red flag that the rest of the world is not doing very well right now.
And yeah, absolutely makes sense because you've got that feed through effect, obviously, of one country's exports are another country's imports and vice versa. So obviously that all links together. Just one point that you made that I thought was really important to dig into was this concept of energy prices, because it might not be obvious to everyone on the surface what's really going on, or what you're certainly describing as driving a lot of this, particularly in Germany. So can you maybe give us a bit of background around that? Because I thought that was really important.
Well, I mean, Germany, you sort of read headlines where previously they were getting very cheap gas out of Russia. Nord Stream 1 and Nord Stream 2 mysteriously blew up. No one's really taken any uh, no
Responsibility for
one's
that.
taken any responsibility for the fact that they're blown up. But that's really damaged the German economy. They're now having to import gas. And additionally, around 2011, Merkel had a policy to green Germany, which a lot of Western countries have done.
Hmm.
I will talk about how greening a country is impossible in a minute, but so they actually started they actually shut down all their nuclear power plants, which is an interesting non-green move, but
Hmm.
apparently nuclear energy was a non-green thing. And they went and tried to shut down coal mines and all sorts of things to drive into wind farms and solar farms to try and become a green energy power. The technology was not there to do it. We all know that the battery technology that's needed for green energy is still being spoken about. We've never gotten there.
Yep.
So you've got these high energy inputs during the day and these abysses during the night. So you're loading up your energy grid during the day, and it falls off a cliff when there's clouds in the sky and you're on solar. So these countries that have tried to become green without the technology available, are suddenly starting to need coal again, because they don't have Germany in particular doesn't have any nuclear power plants. They were shut off April last year. And the funniest one that I've read about Germany is the fact that they've had to knock down a wind farm to extend a coal mine to keep mining coal, because the wind farm wasn't supporting the country, the city that they were supplying power to, so they needed to turn back on the coal plant. So, green energy has
That's
been
certainly not a green way to do it, just for the record, right? Like
no,
that has to be the least green way to do anything.
none of it is recycling solar panels. They don't know how to do it. Like, there's just so many issues with green technology right now. Will it be the future? Will hydrogen be the future? Probably. But until it's there, these countries keep investing in it, getting rid of their infrastructure, and their economy is punished for it because energy prices skyrocket, reliability decreases. So industry doesn't want to be there anymore. The chemical industry in Germany, which was about 5% of their GDP, is now at a level of 1996. It's collapsed because the chemical companies, their input costs are too high, so they're either moving offshore, or I guess their customers are buying less from them because their goods are too expensive. So for Germany, it's catastrophic what they've done.
And you can certainly see how all of this is feeding in together. I suppose the real challenge and the question I'd put to you here is, what is the path out of that situation? If you're in Germany's shoes, is it that they need to reverse, as it appears, like maybe not, mow over the the wind farms to expand the coal mines, but like is in some ways it might be that, right? Have they got to step backwards to move forwards? What's the story there in terms of how do we actually get out, or how do they improve that situation? And is that a warning for other countries that are already, like you mentioned, several before, that are falling into recession, or potentially getting further into recession if they're already there? Is there a path out?
Um, Germany's energy policy started in 2011, and that's when the misstep started.
Yep.
Where 2024 and 2023 was, fundamentally a cliff for Germany. They had been the growth engine of Europe for, since the GFC, really. So really, to turn this ship around is probably a decade back the other way. Some of the stats just on if Germany did decide to build nuclear again, which a lot of other countries are doing to try and get through to the point where green technology works. If they were to do it, the interesting thing is the time to build nuclear power plants right now in the world. In a lot of Western countries, United States is 513 months to build a nuclear power plant.
Wow.
The UK is 282 months to build a nuclear power plant. Japan, South Korea, China, around 110 months. Like the differences in speed, I guess, approvals, is going to kneecap the ability for Western countries to go back to nuclear energy. So Germany's just announced a new gas-fired plant for energy reliability because green's clearly not working. So they're trying to backpedal, but it is going to be a decade or more to change it enough to recover. And by that point, you've moved your industry to places like China.
Yes.
Let's just be clear. You move industry from one country to another country whose energy input fundamentally is dirtier right now. China, I'm sure they will fix that at some point, but right now you have not become green. You have become dirtier. That's just what it is.
That, like those numbers, when you do the maths, right? 12 months in a year, 120 months in a decade. You said some very large numbers there. Like, we're talking a very long time if it's to go down that nuclear path. That seems crazy. Like those numbers, when you say a decade, you could be underestimating there on how long it will take to fix some of these
China and
problems.
Japan are a decade. The US is, they talk
Decades.
40 years.
Yeah.
Like it's lifetimes.
So people aren't putting or doing the basic maths there, I don't think, when they necessarily sprout these answers and say, well, okay, well, we'll just shift towards nuclear as a solution
Bit bad.
because it's not going to happen tomorrow. It's not going to happen anytime soon. That's
No.
really opened my mind to that concept. That's
Well,
crazy.
yeah, so they've gone gas, even though they are a like they're having to import gas. So they've now built new gas plants and they're importing gas and they can't get the cheap gas they need from Russia. So really, that's not going to fix their electricity prices necessarily. I mean, gas prices are falling back down, but all you need is another war, another spike, another, petrol, as we know, prices are still low, but you've got all the boats going through the Gulf there, which are now being attacked. So, you're one war or one event away from there being a massive problem again.
And you're not necessarily being pessimistic there because I think you mentioned before about um, technology as a solution, right? But you're not saying that technology won't solve this. You're saying that technology won't solve this tomorrow, aren't you? You're saying that like it's all just much longer than the immediate need.
Yeah, just like I guess people think building a nuclear power plant's going to be quick. It's not, and the numbers show it. And so 10 years ago, when the new green energy policies were really coming into play in all these countries, everyone said in 10 years' time, we're going to have it figured. We haven't figured it out yet.
No.
So, hydrogen was going to be the battery we needed, and the technology is not there yet. I would say we're getting closer, but we really don't have large scale plants still even now going on.
Hmm. Well,
So,
as always, Alex, that was just a fascinating discussion. So thank you for your work on that. I really found that really interesting. So thank you.
oh, that's okay. It's all good. We'll see if technology can catch up for a change.
Well, all hope on AI. So maybe our robot overlords can figure it out much quicker.
Well, at least we can make a video that shows it.
Absolutely. Thanks everyone for watching. We'll chat again soon.